What a team.
Hi guys, welcome to the CG101 Podcast, second episode. Today we have a really special guest. I'm Brenda and this is Ethan. And we're the co-directors of CG101 and I'm here to present Charles, but I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Thank you very much. So Charles, director and head of school from ArtFX. And I used to work 18 years in the VFX industry as a CG sup and VFX.
Well, thank you so much for, spending time with us and talking to us today. And, first of all, I want to talk a bit about your experience. You just said you have 18 years in the industry, and I know you have done some incredible projects. So can you tell us a bit more about them?
Yes, of course. Yes. So I started my career in Paris, in the French studios. And I started mainly in commercial as a compositor. And I moved slowly in the VFX lands, more specifically in the commercial and shooting and so on. And I started also to experience some features animation. So I was lucky enough to be part of the Despicable Me, the first episode. So obviously back then it was like nothing. It was just a features animation. And even illumination, the studio illumination was not created. It was MacGuff line back then. So we had this Despicable Me, and then we know the success. And then illumination was created. So for me, it was a good experience. I was always a guy with like shooting, green screen, visual effects, practicality, actors, and so on. So at the end, I spent another year in Paris. And I moved in 2009 in London because I was lucky enough to get to the studio NPC to get my first project on Harry Potter. Obviously, when they called me, say, okay, we have the interview, we can offer you a job in NPC. Obviously, I took one ticket and I haven't looked back. So yeah, I started there in NPC and yeah, Harry Potter, Pirates of the Caribbean, Superman, Prometheus, a lot of projects like this, which was excellent. And then I moved to New Zealand. So I went to Weta Digital for a year, 6 months, and I came back to DNEG. Then I came back to NBC and DNEG, come back to New Zealand. Then I finished my career roughly here in the UK because I start to move up as a lead, CG supervisor, and VFX supervisor. That's it.
That's quite a career.
Yeah, I can breathe now.
I think a lot of very interesting titles to have worked on, like looking back from now. Like, how do you see Despicable Me, where it's now come after the first one, to now like break off movies like Minions? And I think they're on their fifth Despicable Me.
Most likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how is that, the perspective of working on it at the start?
It's always interesting because obviously back then when you start in your career, you have a proper vision of the industry and how you see things like your career, the movie, how great it is. And 10 years later, you have a different perspective. You assess things in a very different way. So for me, it's great because I did a project. So I didn't know anything because nothing was created before. Mm-hmm. But now I know how successful it is. Even my mom, she's happy.
Aww.
Yes. Because she always referred to the Minion and I was generalist because in Europe, France, for instance, we train as a generalist, CG generalist. So we learned to do modeling, texturing, lighting, compositing. So I was doing a little bit of I was a bit Swiss Army because we don't have the massive companies in France, at least back then, right? So I have to be able to switch between different tasks. So it's just pure luck for me. So now I'm extremely proud about what we achieved because even if Illumination is a US company, it's not a French company. It's based in France, in Paris, but it is an American company. Mm. But no, I was very, very happy to do this and to be part of this adventure. And also, what is exciting is like how you grow through it. Because at the beginning, you start with X and you learn to do X. And the more you stay in the company, the more you feel more comfortable and people start to trust you even more. So because people trust you more, you build even more confidence and you start to be really express yourself as an artist. Because at the beginning, like everyone, you're a bit shy. We're an artist. I know now I did ABC, but at the beginning, I am an artist.
Yeah.
So we are sensitivity. We don't know how to be exposed. We are very careful about what we do and we are judged based on our skills. So yeah. So now I'm very happy because I can see things in a bit more reliable. Because I did a lot of movies. Mm-hmm. Thank goodness I got the opportunity on UK or New Zealand or France. So yeah, now I'm a bit more relaxed about this.
Okay.
I think it was, oh, sorry. I just
no.
wanted to ask a question about what you just said, because you were talking about growing and, you know,
Yes.
like progressing. And I get a lot of questions when people wonder, like, how do I step up? You know, like maybe they broke in and they have their first job, but they don't know how to go into their next level or, you know, progress to a mid or a leadership position even.
Oh yeah, that's a very good question. It's very difficult because obviously it's never a right time to move up, because you always like feel maybe a bit bold to say, oh, I'm ready to move up. But that depends on a lot of parameters. So that's, I think, a very subjective things first, based on the company, based on the project, based on the producer, based how long is your contract and so on. So that's one thing. It's a very personal thing. You think based on your own data, you are ready or not. Two, if you're male or female, that's very important, you know, because it's a very male-based industry. Things changing, but obviously, if you go to any companies, it's mainly, 2/3 of male. So as a female, your perception could be slightly different. So it's also important to consider this as well.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer your question, I think it's more if you can prove to your N+1, you lead, your sup, your producer, your whatever, your clients, you are able to do the job. Because I don't think on any shape or form, anyone will give you the opportunity if you haven't proved it, you can do it. It's like, okay, you can do it. You showed us you can do it. So then we're going to give you the opportunity. And most of the time, and I think you've been through the same thing, is when they give you a task and you become a lead or senior, but on paper, you are not a senior. You are not a lead. And they give you this task just to test who you are and are you able to hit the marks of whatever the task, and they will build confidence. So it's a bit of back and forward in between. You can prove you can do it and they trust you can do it, right? So it's not complicated, it's complex because it's a lot of feelings, it's a lot of perception. And like, for instance, as myself, if I want to promote someone, it's like, yeah, I have tangible data. She can do it. So yeah, but ask, you never know.
So
You know, but that's difficult because I answer the question because are you confident or are you arrogant?
Yeah.
Because you can say, okay, I can do it. And maybe technically you can do it, but maybe the way it has been moved forward, it can be perceived as arrogant. And I'm French, so I know. So because that's a culture thing. We are on strike and, you know, we love cheese and you can perceive us as arrogance, like even Italian or European people, because our skills is different than different education. And we always very keen to prove ourselves. We can do it. So yeah, it's a sweet spot. Mm-hmm. And that's something you have to feel. If that's the right moment or how I'm going to do it, if that's the right time, the right words.
I guess we can kind of roll into the next question. Then that kind of mentality, does that come up in ArtFX course, things like that, those subtle things that aren't necessarily about learning the technical side, but how to actually carry yourself as an artist?
Yeah. I think, it's ArtFX the way I'm driving the project or even the school. I think what is very important for me or for the school, and I think I can say exactly the same thing when I'm driving a project in the company, is to create a very secure environment, right? So people can really express themselves and doesn't feel shame or shy to say, oh, I'm going to do extra miles and prove I can do it. Because obviously, as an artist, as I just explained, sometimes you can do something and be turned off, or you don't feel confident you can do it or show something. You know, like when you have an animator or FX artist, you can do exactly what they told you, but you can offer an alternative because you can say, okay, I did exactly what you asked, but I think I have a better options. And you see how it can be perceived this. Mm-hmm. But if you feel confident enough that your lead, your sup, your producers, the team put you in the secure environments, you will perform. Mm-hmm. So that's for me very important to feel as an artist again, we're a technician, an artistic person, to say, yes, I can try, I can fail. If I screw up, they cover my back. Mm. right? Because at the end of the day, if we have like this kind of articulation, I'm just like, okay, don't worry, it's fine. You tried. Okay, fair enough. I have a plan B. I give you an example. As a soup, every week we have deliveries, right? So we have a client, we have client meetings, we have to show we are producing work, right? Let's say, for instance, I ask you, Ethan, okay, let's do this for Thursday, right? And you do the simulation, the VFX, and I discover on Friday, it's not good enough. If I show this to the clients, because I promise 15 dailies, that's one of them, is not good enough. He's going to freak out. So what I'm going to do is say, don't worry, I'm going to take something else, whatever I have in my back pocket, and replace this with another dailies. So I have my 15 dailies. I still promise 15 dailies. I deliver 15 dailies. Mm-hmm. But you try, and slowly you will be able to push your limits.
Yeah.
And that's for me very important as a student or as a young artist.
Yeah.
Because it's very hard. The beginning is very hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I think making mistakes and, like you said, having a safe space to make those mistakes, especially when you're starting. Because if you guys don't know, Charles was part of our Discord live yesterday, as well we were recording today, and it was about making mistakes and showcasing stuff. And we also came up with the show your stuff early and ask questions early.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. What would you say for the students that maybe are a bit shy about showing their work, or maybe they want to polish it a bit more before showing it?
Oh yeah, he's never ready. He's never ready to show something, because you always. That's a good question, because it's being perfectionist. Some people said, "Oh, I am perfectionist," or the real question is, "Do you want to get outside your comfort zone?" It's not the same, because you can always say like, "Oh, it's not good enough, not good enough." But the thing is, like, at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, you haven't moved forward. Me, I prefer to see something broken and I can see data. It's like, okay, it's very wrong. Fine. But again, it's fine. Mm-hmm. It's like, at least I see something. And I prefer to see something the next day or the other day. It's like, okay, it's not good or whatever. Let's do A, B, C. But at least I can follow up. Mm. Instead of like not showing anything for 1 week, I'm discovering after a week, it's like, that's the wrong brief. You misunderstood, or you missed whatever. And I start to be a little bit nervous. It's like, so we paid someone for a week and absolutely not close to what we need. Yeah, really, I think it's a very personal thing, because again, you want to expose yourself, say, okay, that I did, like I work every single hours under the sun, every day. And now that's me. Like, what do you think? And it's like a very romantic thing. That's good, but it's not good. Mm-hmm. And you fear about like failing. Yeah. You fear to say being told off, or it's not good enough. But I think part of the live session yesterday, for me, is not about is that good or not good. It's how we move forward, right? Because when you're in charge of the project, you represent, as a VFX, you represent the project. You're the face of the client. Or for ArtFX, you are the face of the school. So you need to make sure people feel confident to fail. So for me, like yesterday, it was like, okay, there is room for improvement. How we move forward? Because we are in the same boat. As a team, as a school, as a company, we all have the same direction. We all want to achieve something and make the great work. So that's the answer for me. Try to push yourself a little bit. Don't hesitate, because I've been there. Like now I feel more better about this, because I think, like, as I said, I had the chance to have people to trust me. That's why I became lead, sup, CG sup, director, colorist, whatever, because people gave me the confidence to do it. Yeah. And for me, the school is the same. You have to have people leading the school, leading the course to show you the direction. And we're going to do it together, because as a project, if you have good artists, you make good work, we have more projects and we are running. Means we extend contracts, we have more work, we can progress, and the wheel is spinning.
I feel like you've kind of highlighted a bit of the philosophy of ArtFX in the sense of teaching people to be willing to make mistakes and, to ask questions. So I guess we can kind of go on to maybe exploring like the staff that are part of ArtFX, or any in particular you want to talk about or let people know?
Yes, of course, yes. So one of the things I really believe in the ArtFX course on the master, it's because it's a master, you really, really have to be practical, tangible, because you did already a bachelor. So you did like 3 years of theory and practice and exercise. But at the end of the day, you will be judged or hired based on your skills. So the master will be very heavy and savvy on practicality, because we can teach theory forever. You can watch tutorials forever. And the worst things, you will always learn something. I love tutorials. I learn so many things with tutorials on the internet or whatever, paid tutorials or YouTube. But at the end of the day, it's a tutorial. If you don't really get outside your comfort zone, it's like, all right, okay, I'm going to grab my camera. I'm going to shoot something. I'm going to do an asset from scratch and integrate this from A to Z. You will never be able to understand things properly, because the tutorials it's prepared to work for me. You buy the tutorials, they provide you the scene or the Houdini asset or the Houdini scene or the painter asset or the modeling or whatever, and they show you how to do it. And again, you learn a lot because you have to go through this. But I think in the industry, you will never get the right tutorial.
No.
They will always ask you something, and it's not even rational when they ask.
Just change that. And
Right?
Oh, but it's not in the tutorial.
The tutorial. But it's a good basement, but you have to get these extra miles. That's where the master, for me, is good, because you will learn to connect the dots in between what I learned, how creative I am, how technical I am. It's like, all right, I understand the brief, because again, it's not a tutorial. It's like, you have to understand the brief based on the person in front of you with his own vocabulary. And sometimes the question doesn't even make sense. You have to scratch your head or even think in the shower in the morning. It's like, what does it mean about this? How I can make up something good to tell the story? Because a master for me in ArtFX is to produce movies. It's a filmmaking and VFX school. So you have to create a content. Because whatever you do, commercial, features, animation, VFX, or whatever, you are telling a story, right?
Yep.
So it means you are transferring emotion, right? You can take a nice picture just with an iPhone. Of course, if you have a very fancy, expensive, of course it's better but again, it doesn't mean the picture will be better. Of course, you have nice techie things, but if you really understand photography, framing, colors, or the luminance of an image, you can do very good stuff just with an iPhone.
Yeah. I think I wanted to highlight something that you just said in there about, matching the dots.
You can exert, yeah, exactly.
And I think that's something really interesting that you were telling us about ArtFX, is that, they're going to be working on, they work with briefs that could be industry standard, something that's being shoot. And I think that experience on having to be resourced.
Exactly. No, you're absolutely right. Like, we really try to make the gap in between the ArtFX master and the VFX industry will be very thin, which means like, okay, we have a brief, we have a deadline, and guess what? I will change the deadline and I will change the brief. Just not because I'm happy. It's like, oh yeah, I'm very like changing the brief. No, because it's how things works.
Yeah.
An example, we have a month to do a task. And after 15 days, it's like, new idea or new cut. So your animation will change, because between the shot before and the shot after, it doesn't match anymore because the cut changed. And I will change the cut, because you have to be ready to be able to change quickly and to adapt quickly. And if you can adapt quickly, you're going to keep your job.
Yeah.
Because you will learn to work in a very specific way, very organized, be very efficient and very responsive, and could be as a contractor and even more as a freelance. Because of course, if you have a master, doesn't mean you have to be in the company. And if you are quick, you will survive because you can adapt. And the other part of the answer for the ArtFX master, it's, well, we don't have teachers.
Wow.
I want people from the industry, because I believe the approach from someone like us, work for years and years and years, you have a mindset. right? It's not like, okay, let's go Maya or let's go Nuke or let's go every single icon and I'm going to explain everything on in Houdini. I'm going to explain everything on every single tutorials. It's going to take forever. And the time you learn everything, you have a new version, the new fancy stuff, the new plugins, the new AI, the new blah, 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 blah. For me, to have like people from the industry is we learn the hard way. We learn the very hard way.
You almost learn the mindset as well, because someone that's not in the industry, like all it takes is a year, like you said, for new software to come out. So, you still got all the information from industry, but, at another year you've been out of the industry, you're missing out on what things have changed, like, because things just change so quickly, even though there's fundamentals, like there are constants, like Maya has obviously been around for a long time.
Forever.
Yeah. So using it is essential if you, want to be an animator or hard surface modeler. But it's these things with introductions of things like Blender. If that comes in, it's another tool that can be used to aid or speed up.
And that's the mindset we learn in the industry.
And I feel like now that I've been working, for all these years, it's been the hard part, and probably the most things I have learned have been working. Because, you've been thrown in the deep end, and suddenly, like you said, someone changes a brief or you get assigned to something. And they said, yeah, do that.
Yeah.
And you're like...
And you swim or you sink.
Exactly, because like you said, there's no tutorial.
No, you will never learn this except if you are pushed. Same as to be a senior to lead. You will never learn properly. It's like, okay, now you're lead. So on Friday nights, you are the new sheriff in town because you're senior, you're comfortable, you know your job perfectly well because you produce shots. Monday morning, you have a team to manage. Right?
Yeah.
Different story. And that's a very complex machine, the human, and how to articulate planning, and people are sick and people are sad and people have problems. And as a lead artist, you have to understand this and to be able to be flexible. Okay, here is sick. How I'm going to do it? I'm going to absorb what I'm going to do. And I have to reshuffle my schedule. I have to speak to my Anim Sup or CG Sup or whatever. And you have to learn this, and there is no tutorials. Yeah. So it's a hard school, but it's a good school. And that's a good mindset for me. Because again, as a teacher, you follow a process. So it has to fit and tick the boxes for me, because you prepped your course or tutorials or your lesson and you follow the process. And again, we need this because you have to start somewhere. I mean, as a bachelor, you have to be, okay, how Maya works, how Houdini works, how animation works.
Yeah.
I do a ball, I do the rhythm and keyframes. You have to go through this. But the master, it's the next step. That's why we go from teaching to like people in the industry. And they will tell you, okay, you have a problem. I'm going to tell you what you need to do to achieve what we asked. And that's something I'm very keen to have. And that's why people from this will come, help during the day and during the evening. And because we are next to a lot of visual effects company, and even in the same building as the VFX company, we are next door. So I just pick up my phone, say, sorry, can you come? Because I don't know to do X, Y, Z. Because as a sup, you don't know, you're not an animator. I'm not an effects artist. I'm not a comp artist. I'm more overseeing things. I'm more like the compass. It's like, I know what I want to see and I know how to connect the dots, but I'm not the expert on any domain.
It was like we were talking before the podcast about you're directing. You're not there to do this, be the cinematographer or be the camera. You've got people for that's their job to be good at.
Yeah.
And I think it's similar with, the rest of our pipeline in the CG world.
Exactly.
It carries on breaking down into, you've got the director and you've got a CG team and you've got, actors and stuff. But then within the CG team, within the actors, there's a whole tree of network of the roles being split into who's good at what. And, you have your generalists and everything.
Of course, yes. Yeah. Absolutely. No, agreed. Absolutely.
Yeah. And, learning how to work in teams and stuff, because we were also saying, how you have to trust that cinematographer, you have to trust that, environment artist, and trust the animator, and, communicate effectively so then they understand the brief. And
communication. Communication. That's a massive topic. Yeah, that's you touch something very sensitive. Like, there's two different things there. People talk a lot, but they don't communicate enough. People are talking, but they're not communicating. It's not because I'm talking for like 20 minutes means I really communicate an idea.
Yeah.
Right? That's the thing. Like sometimes people talk and talk and talk, or like a dailies. I can talk for 5 minutes, and at the end, it's like, what I need to do. But I have 5 minutes, alias for 5 minutes, and the coordinator taking notes, he or she doesn't know what to type.
Yeah.
But yeah, communication is like something I will focus also in the master, how to communicate. Because for instance, something I'm chasing and very annoyed, it's when people don't use the right words. So when they say like, oh, can you pass me this thingy? I'm like, which thingy?
Yeah.
There's 20 million things here. I say, no, but the one on the left, or can you do a bit more, or in animation, can you do something a bit better? Something I like from the client is like, oh, I want something premium.
Oh.
That's a brief. I'm not making it up. I'm like, something premium. Okay. So it's like, what I'm going to say to my team now. You want premium, or you want something you never saw before. And again, it's a real brief.
I got the, I want something more fun.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's the same thing. Exactly. It's like, what do you mean by more fun? What's the brief? How long it takes? And I need tangible data. I know it's the same thing.
I mean, at the end, it's because it's visual, right? We're making art and it's so subjective. So it's like when they say, oh, I want it more fun.
Yeah.
Or I want something shiny. And you're like, yeah, but shiny what? Or
yeah,
premium
can you
what?
elaborate? What's fun? What's exactly?
Yeah.
I'm always like, just give me references, just something, because if you say leave it to my decision, I'm going to come up with something that I think is cool that you might not think is fit.
It's subjective.
So yeah, that's what I mean. So give me reference and we won't run into that problem in any way. But as soon as you say it's all yours, who knows what I'm going to design.
And when you say like, give me a reference, they provide you a proper references?
It depends on how big the job is. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, well, that's my experience. Sometimes the brief is vague, so our result is vague, right? If I say do something fun, well, it's so vague. Yeah, in a million years, you will get it right.
Yeah.
Because of course, vague brief, vague result. So if you come back, say, give me your references, you throw the ball back to them. But if they don't know what they want, and that's our job, for instance, to say, okay, ask question. It's like, okay, fun. Okay, which movie? Which kind of things? And for instance, again, I'm back to the core question. It's like, which emotion do you want to transfer? What's the story you want to tell at the end? Because it's always back to this. Because it could be fun, but we have different perception. And even based on our culture. I'll give you another example. As a colorist, sometimes we don't have the same color references.
Oh, interesting.
Right? We don't see the same color. We don't have the same vocabulary. Interesting, right? So because we don't have the same code, we have a different culture. And it's not a judgment. It's not pro. No. It's just different culture. So you see?
Yeah.
So when you say references, okay, but if you haven't been through this, you won't understand the culture. And that's why when you start a project, you spend time digging, try to document yourself about the project. It's like if you want a New York City in 1930, okay, what the mindset, what's happened, how people live, what they need. And you have to dig for weeks and weeks and weeks to understand really how New York in 1930. It's not about pixels. You're showing pixels. It's like which emotion you are transferring. I come from lighting background. I did like 10 years of lighting, copying integration. So I was always like, see how the light behave, how the light can shape an object, how like a Coca-Cola can be sexy just with lighting because of the color, because of the position, how you shape your object, how you really manipulate the shape based on your lights. And it could be everything.
I think that's a good segue into asking how then, once students have completed their masters, how do you then guide them into the industry through, like, how do you connect them with studios? I know you said you're close to studios. There's a lot around us, but what kind of methods do you use to help, whether it's through demo reels or whether it's meeting actual artists from actual companies or interviews?
So I try to cherry pick like leads or senior or hopefully sup who's coming here to teach properly. And it's not teaching in the literal way, like we're going to do a course and exercise. It's more like, okay, you have a project. Mm-hmm. We have a challenge. How are we going to hit the mark with the deadline? So the sup, obviously, or the lead or the senior will have exactly the secret sauce. Like, because he or she will understand why we are, what we need to go. And again, he will guide you through different steps, different departments to understand how to articulate each department, and not through tutorials on exercise or small rate at the end of the day. Of course, we're going to have some rate because of the diploma, because we are a partnership with AUB. ArtFX leads the course, but is delivered with the level 7 from AUB. So the proper master level 7. But the thing is, the people, seniors or subs or leads, will really try to push you outside your limits and say, okay, you have to bit of this because you have to understand what does it mean behind, right? You have to understand the lighting, understand the compositing, and each exercise, or we call modules, we have 6 modules. They will teach you a different aspect of cinematography or VFX, because I don't dissociate the filmmaking to the VFX, because we need both. We have to shoot something to be able to do the VFX. If your cinematography is not good enough, you can do whatever in VFX, is not going to work, right? And for instance, another example, like you can have an amazing look depth, an amazing lighting. If you don't have the animation, it's not going to work. Like I saw on Jungle Book, I worked like a year on Jungle Book 10 years ago. You look at the still image, amazing. Then you have the animation, it's like, oh boy, everything's collapsed. Just because it's not moving the right way. You stopped, amazing. You play, not working. So yeah, you don't have to leave any single department. And that's why it's very tough when you do filmmaking or VFX. It's a teamwork.
Yeah, absolutely.
And ArtFX, we are doing this team because communication, because collaboration, and you won't learn this at home with tutorials.
So is there a way for students then to, so because you said they're going to pass through different departments, but are they going to specialize at the end, or is it going to be more of a generalist understanding?
That's a good question. I think it's a very personal choice, because for me, we try to put everything on the table to be able to assess and try and experiment different things, because I will never know what you will like in 1 year based on the different projects. So it's why each project will bring animation, modeling, asset, FX, comp, lighting, shooting, whatever. But at the end, I don't know what you will find something very standing out for yourself, and you see yourself working on this industry every single day.
Yeah.
Remember yesterday we mentioned the example, we all started with an idea, say, oh, I want to become X. And 2 years later, we are Y or Z. And just an example, like when I was starting in ArtFX, because I am the head of the school now in ArtFX London, but 21 years ago, ArtFX was built from scratch. I was a student. So I was in the first scholarship, first year of ArtFX. And I was looking at Pixar, I was looking at features animation and Disney. Like, oh, I want to become an animator. Remember?
Yeah.
Because you can see things moving. It's like, I want to be an animator. 3 years later, lighting comp. Because I explore so many things like, oh, but this does exist. Oh, but this does exist. Lighting is interesting, and shooting is interesting, and green screen is interesting, and maybe leading a project is interesting. No, organizing tasks. Say, okay, you're going to do X for 3 days. I didn't know.
Yeah. I think that's something that happens when you're studying, or when you see it from a perspective where you're new, and
Yes.
maybe you found your first tutorial, or you saw a behind the scenes of a film or a game, and you don't really know how it works. And yeah, we said yesterday that everyone normally like comes in with an idea, because when I first came in, I found the free version of what's it called, of ZBrush, which was Pixel or something like that, the sculpting thing.
Absolutely.
So I was sculpting things on my computer, and I was so happy that I could make something and rotate it. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a modeler.
Of course, it's so easy and it's tangible.
Yeah, and then I started uni, and I was like, oh, effects and like comp seems so much fun. I'm gonna be a comp artist, because I like making that final image and pushing it to the max to make it something else. And then I found anime, and I was like, oh, this is actually really fun.
But that's great. It's part of the private school or universities to give you the tools to explore yourself.
Yeah. I mean, it's also kind of what you said at the very beginning of, feeling comfortable making a mistake.
Yes.
Because you're there to experiment.
Yeah.
And I think that's the fun part about getting started. Regardless of how you get started, is,
doesn't matter.
Making something.
Do something.
For the fun.
Anything, but just do something. Because people are afraid to jump. Because if you don't do anything, you will be never judged. Easy, right? You're at home, you don't do anything, never judge, but you can judge someone else. That's the fun part, right? But at the end of the day, you don't move forward. So how are you going to prove yourself or someone else? Again, you can do the job or be hired or to become a lead, sup or whatever, or director. You will never. So basically, the things happen. And it's difficult because when you're in this situation, you always ask yourself the question, do you want to have regret or do you want to have remorse? It's not the same. I prefer to have remorse, right?
Yeah.
Because don't miss the opportunity. And it's never the right time because you can say, okay, I'm going to wait. It's like me going to the gym. Okay, it's a big subject. Because I always have a good excuse. I'm not going to the gym because I have a meeting, I have an interview, and it's true. But at the end of the day, it's just excuses. And I sleep so much better because I have a good excuse because I'm not going to the gym. And I promise you look at my calendar, it's full. I have no time. The reality, I don't want to go to the gym. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
So if you are not willing, push hard, you don't have to lie to yourself. So I have more regret now for the gym.
Just to move on to the next question, could you highlight the program? So someone that starts this course, what is it going to look like in terms of like what are they going to go through, like the timeline? If you could highlight that for them, just so they know it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's very simple. So first, I will start with how to do the interview. Because I strongly believe you have to have obviously a bachelor because we deliver a master. So that's a given. You have to have in your pocket a bachelor. And for me, it's not about the school or the rate, or it's more about show me what you can do. Because it's at the end of the day, it's you're going to be hired because you are good of what you're doing. Regardless of the school or the degree, or it could be a different degree, it could be a different bachelor. And you can do on your own personal time, a good demo reel. So the first thing, like us, how we are hired based on the demo reel. So the first thing I will look at is the demo reel. 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, doesn't matter. Because I will see very quickly if you're able first to follow the course. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to get someone on board if he or she cannot follow. Because the master is going to be a very boot camp thing. Because it's to close the gap between the school and what we need in the real life, the industry. And we know it's very demanding, right? So it's not about like, oh, I have my exercise and I tick the boxes and like, okay, good, I have my master, but I'm not able to work. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm an employer. When you employ someone, it's like, okay, if I put you on this seat, you have to make money. You have to make sure you can produce and be efficient. So that's why this master is a 1 year, 6 module bootcamp project or bootcamp year, just to make sure like you have to really, really push hard. Yeah. I think like as a joke, it's gonna hurt me later, but it's fine. I take the risk. 35 hours a week is a part-time. That's for me a given because you really, really have to work hard.
You need to want it, I think.
If you really like something like you remove mountains.
I think you can definitely tell when you talk to people, when you're giving feedback to people, the difference, whether the work is really just not good, but the spirit is there, that they're like, compared to someone that's, they're good, but you can tell maybe they just have fallen into CG stuff and they're kind of just doing it because it's there. So I think that is a big thing, is how much are you willing to...
Yeah, I really try to have constructive feedback because even myself, like I always had the frustration as an artist or even lead, being there, listening to someone, give it feedback and don't really understanding what he wants or she wants. So I'm like, okay, I want to do my best, but I'm not sure if the person care enough or he or she good enough to explain properly and elaborate in detail what we have to do. Like do something fun, or do something premium. It's like, you don't care or you don't know. Either way is not helping me. So now I'm very thoughtful and conscious when I have an artist. Obviously we have this power because we are in charge of this, right? So I'm really, really careful to be as clear as possible and to elaborate the answer to say, okay, how you can do better tomorrow and tomorrow. Because what I want at the end of the day, to keep them. Because when you manage a company, it's very hard to hire people on every single project.
Yeah.
Because you have to be trained, you have to make sure you are confident, you trust them or they trust you. So it's a lot of energy. And of course, it's new contract and people leave, they're frustrated and back square one, right?
Yeah.
So I really want to be as constructive as possible. And I really want them to succeed. As a sup, as a manager, as a head of school, it's the same.
Yeah.
I really care about what we are doing because we have the same goal. So it's on the ArtFX London website. So basically you go on Google, ArtFX London, and you have a lovely page, right? When you can apply. And they will direct you directly to the AUB website because AUB managing the administration for the diploma. If you need a visa, very important. If you are British citizen, no visas. If you are European or international student, you need a visa. AUB will help you in the process, and then we are taking over and we are driving everything from London Shoreditch. So, yeah.
So will there be based fully 100% of their time in London?
Yes, London Shoreditch, yes. And the idea for me, it's I don't really believe in remote, especially when you start in your career as a young people or young students, because you really be able to be in confrontation, right? And to face people and argue with someone. It's easy on Zoom, right? You're at home on Zoom and you don't have the webcam. It's like, okay, I'm very strong. I have a lot of courage. Yeah? When you're in the same room and you have the same projects, that's a different story. And guess what? That's the real life.
Yeah.
That's why the school is a physical one in Shoreditch, in a room. I'm trying to have like not more than 20 people. So one class, 20 tops, because I really want to make it work the best way at the beginning. And they need attention and I need to spend as much time as possible.
Yeah.
And if you have enough time and if you dedicate your time properly, people can move fast. If you guide them properly based on the interview, based on the demo reel, means if they pass these are in, means I believe they can do it. So means if we guide them properly, me or the subs from the industry for one of us, the yard or frame store, or the studio like next to us in central London, we can go very fast. We don't need like years and years and years. You know, when you have a good lead or a good sup, you know, we've all been through this, right?
Yeah.
You have a good sup who, you have a connection. Like things work, we understand each other. So you make fast progress.
Absolutely.
Very fast progress.
And I think kind of what you were saying, that when you're getting started and, you're dipping your toes into the CG world, I think spending time, not just with with people teaching and people visiting and professionals, but also with your classmates themselves, because people are so motivated and you really push each other. And then you don't know where that's going to lead because, for anyone who doesn't know, Ethan and I went to the same university and we met at the university and then here we are. So it's things that, does happen and then you become friends.
You never know it.
And you never know what's happened. And now, you work with your classmates, they become your teammates.
Exactly. And they give you contacts, they give you a job because you have connection because you spend time together in the real world with a hard project or studying the same thing. So you've been through a lot. So you really connect with people. Yeah. And you can go to the pub, right? Which is a very important part of the London city, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's essential to networking. You don't have to drink, but just being there.
Yes. Yes, that's very true. Yes.
Just being there in the presence of other people where you're not just completely focused on work. You're talking about other things.
Exactly.
You talk about where you went to uni. You can talk about what films you like.
Anything.
And you can bond over that. And you know, you just never know who, even if it's not someone that ends up connecting you with a sup that gets you a job, but you just become friends. It's even,
that's it.
Yeah.
It's
even
enough.
that's, yeah, it's good.
Yes, it's a victory. Yeah, absolutely. And also we have the VES London section, which I'm part of, and we're going to create some events because the idea to be in central London is to be close to the company, to be able to organize events and CG101.
Of course.
VES London section, because we are in London. So it's easy to make events, connection, and even just drinks, just outside, like a very casual drinks, not even like a formal one because depends of the rules, depends of the event, depends. It could be just casual. And, it's a very small industry, very, very small industry. So for me, it's a very strategic position to be in central London for the school.
Absolutely. I think that really pushes, like we were saying, to meet the right people, but also like to meet people that inspires you. And, that pushes you because you like what they have been doing. And I think if you see someone that you really enjoy what they do, or if you see their work online, message them, because we live in a digital era, and it's a perfect, way that you just go and be like, hey, I saw this thing you did. It's awesome.
Exactly.
Or like, how did you do that? Like, tell me more, or things like that. And even like at work, if you see someone that has done something really awesome, you can tell them and be like, hey, that was so cool. Like,
Exactly. Yeah, it's good. Always good to have opinion as well. Well, constructive one.
Yeah.
Because of course, like everyone can have an opinion, right? I have opinion of quantum physics. I have no clue, right? But I have an opinion, right? But that's good for being able to reach the right people because they have an expertise, right? They have a real deep understanding of the cinematography or business or industry. So they give you proper tangible feedback based on the needs, not just because they know it, just because they want you to grow and maybe tomorrow to be a colleague.
And before we wrap up with any last tips and tricks, is there any other questions or things that you would like us to know?
About CG101.
Not about CG101, but about ArtFX. Is there anything else that you would like to highlight before we wrap up?
Yes, I will say we have opening doors. So we have two things, physical one, and we have a virtual one. So because I think what is very important as bachelor or someone who wants to be a master, it's come to see us, speak to us. You will see the school, you will see the materials, you will see the people who are going to teach there with me in the course. So you will see if you feel comfortable, because you're going to spend a full year, right? And it's you have to pay for this, obviously, so private university. So I want to make sure you say, yeah, I can see myself there. I feel comfortable to talking with someone. It's not just like CG supervisor or FX supervisor, or so they're going to be people you're going to be with not every day, but pretty much, right? So if you don't feel comfortable, if you don't see by yourself, it's difficult. Apply on the website, same website, ArtFX London website. Apply for it for the opening doors, virtual or on site, and please reach out. Again, ask questions. We are here for that. We have a chat, we have emails, and I think the more you ask questions, the better you will have an understanding of how the course will run. Means you can make the right decision. If ArtFX is the right call, I don't know. But if you assess and ask a lot of questions, you will know if ArtFX, yes or no, is the right decision.
Yeah. I think so. I'll go with my last question.
Yeah.
So then you think about it. Right. My last question for you, because obviously you're heading to school now for ArtFX. You are on shoot, doing set shoots. You are the co-chair of the VES Society London. You come and, you do feedback for us, or you are always in a networking event. What keeps you motivated? Because you have done so many things and you do all of them so well. So, give us some tips.
I love it. I can do it for free, but unfortunately I have to pay my bills. You know what? I think if I can win the lottery tomorrow, I will still do it again. But unfortunately, the system we work with is not working like that. But the tips, I think it's always to be passionate about something, right? It's always like what keeps you awake all night, what you're thinking when you're sleeping, what you're thinking when you're showering in the morning. I think for me, making content and sharing the same passion with people, that's the reason why I did this kind of career, and I want now to share now. I really want to share my experience, because I deeply think I am much more to bring on the table creating the school than making another Marvel film. Because if I do another Marvel, it's going to be maybe the 8th or 9th or 10th, but it's on the top. If I build the ArtFX London School, I think we can bring so much more for people and how to work and sharing our experience, our vision. I think I found this more exciting. In the mornings, it's a big move for me.
Yeah.
You are VFX supervisor, you're working in the company. I'm going to build a school from scratch. Not from scratch, but from scratch in London. And it's a big risk, but it's exciting. Mm-hmm. Right? I know I say that it's easier. Sometimes it's like, how am I going to do it? But I think it's so exciting to see. And what I like also, it's because I'm teaching a lot with ArtFX. What I really enjoy, this is the second part of the question, it's what makes me very proud. It's when I see someone starting in September and the journey after a year.
Yeah.
You see, it's like, wow, you made a lot. And that makes me proud because I can see people growing because they learn, they come from someone asking random question to feel like someone professional because you got it now. And that's very exciting. And like, yes, I made a difference.
I think that kind of leads on to what I was curious in asking is maybe just could you highlight some of the students that you have worked with or have had at ArtFX? Because I work with some at Black Kite, and you can just tell the experience that they have when as soon as they come in, even though it's their first job, they know a significant amount of information. They understand the industry very well for being their first role. So maybe you could just like touch upon experiences of others. I don't know who you've interacted with at whatever companies they're at.
It's true because in ArtFX France, it's a 5 years degree, right? In the UK, we do a bachelor and potentially a master 1 or 2 years.
Okay.
In ArtFX, we do 5 years, not in the UK, right? In France. So which means we have a 5 solid year. And it's not just like you do 3 years and you stop. You start as a first, you finish as a fifth. And also, which is exactly what I'm bringing here in the UK, in London, it's you do projects. And that's when you learn so much because you have to deal with so many things. You have to have so many spinning plates. You have to make decision quick. It's not just, oh, I have 3 weeks to do a map painting. It's like, no. In 2 days, we have a dailies, in short grid, review by myself, right? Which means you have to make very executive decision. And because you're making executive decision and you make decision quick, you have quick feedback. Means after a week, you have 3 reviews. If you wait 3 weeks, you have 1 review, right? So if you follow the rhythm, you have almost 10 feedback in 3 weeks instead of 1.
Yeah.
Right? Roughly, yeah, give or take. So I think it's a mindset. That's why for me, it's depend of who you are with, depends of the school, depends of the teacher, depends of the course leader, depends. Like in the VFX company, it depends of your supervisor. You've all been through, like you're in the same company, you do a project, it's very bad. You change project, it's amazing. Same company, same team, same everything. It's like, you see, it depends of who is at the top, I think. So yeah, that's why for me, it's important to assess properly who you are, what's the school, who's going to drive the school, who's going to teach, how things going to be driven. As part of coming, asking questions. Yeah, make sure you make the right decision. All right.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was great. No, thank you so much for, spending this time with us and spending this time with our CG101 community on this second episode. Yeah. Honestly, I'm very excited to see what you do next.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for all of the tips. I think it's been amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Thank you very much.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Awesome.
And a clap.